Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining today. It's really nice to be here at ZCon 6. I'm Kit Sturgeon. I'm the CEO of Red Dev, and we are building Red Bridge. This presentation is about a bridge between Zcash, Avalanche, and beyond, and in general, sharing the privacy and selective disclosure features of Zcash with the rest of crypto. We consider Red Bridge part of Zcash's vertically integrated stack. So with of course, Zebra at the core, and we hope this tool is really useful to everybody. Have some good news to share. The best news really as we move along is that just as of yesterday, we received and announced more funding from Avalanche Foundation. So this project has been initially funded and is funded by Zcash community grants. And there's a thread in the forum about it, which you're welcome to follow. And that was great. But it's a bridge between Zcash and Avalanche, and it's so excellent to have Avalanche's foundation support for and vigorous support. They did quite a PR campaign, mini campaign yesterday, and we're really excited for that support from the Avalanche community and from the Avalanche Foundation. So here we go. So we're going to introduce, I'm going to give you an overview of this project. So in the next 20 minutes or so, we're going to cover the Red Bridge 3-stage plan. We've focused really on stage 1, so I'm going to introduce you to stage 2 and 3. And then a crash course in how the tech works, how you can get involved, and then I'll do a quick demo of the user interface, which we just released last week and would love feedback on. So let's get going. So this is what we proposed initially, and is the core of the project, which is to create a wrapping bridge, which means that the ZEC token is wrapped, and so it's not a DEX, it's actually a wrap token that, so the value on the other side of the bridge is the same as ZEC on the Zcash side. Just sorry, I lost my window here. So there are two big use cases. One is it enables every ZODLer to use DeFi to who's invested in ZEC and is holding ZEC and wants to keep holding ZEC, and yet use that ZEC on Avalanche and beyond, for loan collateral, to trade, whatever you want to do with it. We think loan collateral will be one of the major use cases because you have this investment and you can put it up as collateral, and then in a DeFi platform, and then get out USDC and buy something. And then the other use case, which I think is just as helpful to Zcash as the first, is it opens Zcash and ZEC as a private savings account at rest to the rest of DeFi, Avalanche, and because there are other bridges on Avalanche that go elsewhere beyond. So people, and it lets everyone easily and permissionlessly you have a savings account on the Zcash blockchain in ZEC. This is a permissionless bridge. It has a staking token, which we'll talk about in a bit, and guardian validators that decide what goes over the bridge and what does not. And all you have to do to run a guardian validator is have enough of the staking token to just called RBR, to run a validator. So there's no gatekeeping other than just having to buy the token. Oops. The second stage. So this bridge, the more traffic that goes over this bridge, the better. So the second stage is adding $2 trillion or more of from OG chains that are software forks of Bitcoin and Bitcoin itself to and bridge those as well. And this makes, and the more value that's bridged through Red Bridge, the more revenue the bridge guardians earn, the more demand there is for RBR, and the more secure Red Bridge becomes. So it's really to everyone's advantage to ramp up. These other two, you'll see Avalanche in the middle there, and then above and below there are two black and white. One of those is Wormhole, and the other is Layer 0. Those are two other bridging protocols that once you're on Avalanche, you can keep going onto other blockchains through those bridges. And 3, and this is to me, the most important destination here is to actually bring privacy and selective disclosure services of Zcash to everyone. And this means adding support for ZSAs and having, I'll explain a little bit more about how Avalanche works, and this might make a little more sense then. But as you can see, there are Avalanche L1s above and below, and I'll talk about this in a minute. So what about Maya protocol? Maya is another protocol that enables value transfer. And the great thing about Red Bridge and Maya is we're symbiotic. So for a wrapping bridge, you have the native token ZEC on the Zcash side, and then you have this token ZEC.rbr, which those are pegged. So through our bridge, you can always exchange one-to-one for those. But if in a real marketplace, there can be a higher demand for one or the other on either side, and you need some pathways for arbitrage to even out those values so that they always stay that. And that's what Maya provides beautifully. So it's and also permissionlessly. So we have a pathway for arbitrage traders to help keep the bridge functional. Okay, so let's talk about Avalanche. I assume everybody here is less familiar with Avalanche, though some people may already know quite a bit. It's much more than an EVM. There's this meme, novel consensus. Yeah, novel consensus. Multi-chain. Yeah, multi-chain. NEVM, Avalanche. Geth fork. And then it's just like a Ethernet fork. So, but in reality, Avalanche is a network of autonomous blockchains called Avalanche L1s. So an L1 can run any VM and any consensus protocol. And I'll just say as an aside, there have been 2 other attempts to actually run the Zcash VM inside an Avalanche L1. And they didn't catch fire because there wasn't any connection to Zcash. It was just a hostile fork, really. So what this project, one thing this project is trying to correct is to create that bridging connection. So there's financial benefit and community benefit on both sides, and then we can have a Zcash VM running on the Avalanche side eventually in the 3rd phase. How all the VMs, how all the L1s communicate with each other is called Avalanche Warp Messaging. And they do that by registering on the Avalanche P chain, a special key that enables them to authenticate and communicate with each other very quickly in under a second. So in a sense, you have an internet of blockchains, and that's what the Avalanche platform is today. So how does Red Bridge fit into that? In stage one, Red Bridge is a permissionless Avalanche L1 with a custom virtual machine that's bridging transparent ZEC between Zcash and Avalanche's C chain. So we bridge transparently in this phase and then escalate to bridge shielded ZEC in phase 3. And it's secured with this new token RBR. Our L1 Red Bridge won't actually contain the value. It's just a bridge. Its sole purpose is to say, yes, somebody tried to bridge these funds and you can do it. And so the money actually, the ZEC.rbr is actually minted on Avalanche's C chain, which is an EVM chain that you may have used using MetaMask or Rabby or Core. Okay, so how can you help? And we really would appreciate your help. Running Guardian validators, we'd like them all over the world for maximum decentralization and uptime. Participate in our incentivized testnet. So once we get the software up and running on Avalanche's Fuji test net, we're going to have a special incentivized test net where we're actually going to simulate the bridge working in real time. And you'll get tokens to stake for the test. And we're going to make sure everything works really well. This is modeled after how Avalanche, the blockchain, launched, and I participated in the testnet for Avalanche. It was called Denali testnet, and it was amazing because it was right during COVID. As you know, it was such a welcome distraction from the real world, and all we had to do was run validators, and 1,000 of us participated. It was the biggest network at the time, permissionless network, and we all ran validators with relatively equal stake, and as a thank you, we all received 2,000 AVAX, which at the time was worth about $1,000. So for the hours put in, it seemed like, nice pay, fine, and yet. And 2,000, it just so happened, was the minimum amount necessary to run a real validator once Avalanche launched. And our 2,000 AVAX was locked for a year. Couldn't do anything with it except really run a validator. So everybody did. And so the coolest part about that is that when that lockup period ended, you'd think maybe people would sell their AVAX. Nope. 98% of validators just kept running their validators, and it's left Avalanche with a super strong decentralized network in that way, which is we would like to model that exact same testnet. And then the last one is to help us review our architecture with a critical eye. I know we have really super expert devs in the audience, and for you to help us look this over for logic problems. We're so lucky to also have Paku helping our project from also funded by Zcash community grants. And he's a huge help in helping us with Zcash specific issues. So for instance, this is a quick look at one of our component diagrams. This shows the Red Bridge components on top, and then Zebra off to the left, and Avalanche go off to the right. And this is sort of how the blockchains communicate. This is a document you can find in our GitHub repo and look at to get an overview of what the heck, how does this thing work? And hopefully it's clear. And if it's not, we'd like to know, because the whole point of UML diagrams is to communicate architecture. We have 3 use cases and sequence diagrams to match each one. So it's, pretty straightforward what we do. We don't do anything too complicated in phase 1. We take ZEC and we wrap it, and it comes out as ZEC.rbr on the C chain. And then there's a second use case doing that opposite direction, ZEC.rbr, unwrapping it, and it gets released as ZEC on the Zcash chain. And then there's a renew bridge guardians. And if whoever left a message on the forum about 10 days ago, I have to get back to you. Thank you for bringing this up. There was somebody commenting on this issue and some of the challenges of that. And I've just been super busy and I haven't had a chance to write back. So if you're in the audience, I will get back to you and I'll post it on the forum. But every 24 hours, some guardians will leave and some guardians will enter, and we have to perform administrative tasks so that the guardians that have left are removed from decision-making roles, and the guardians that are coming in are able to help make bridging decisions. This is a sequence diagram. If you're not familiar with these, it's the sort of thing where it helps to be a developer, but it should also be understandable I should be able to explain it to somebody who's just familiar with Zcash, the process, and go through. Somebody like me should be able to explain this to you and you have an understanding. You can see that there's a Zcash wallet across the top, the Red Bridge UI, MetaMask, etc. This is just a small preview of it. Somebody asked, is the bridge open source? Well, we also be developing user interfaces for the project. So yes, the bridge is open source. We're funded by ZCG, and the pretty much only stipulation that ZCG has is the software has to be open source. So yes, it's completely open source. Yes, I have we'll jump to that user interface very shortly. Take a look. Okay, so where do we end up? The goal here is to end up to a world scalable peer-to-peer electronic cash system. And those words may sound familiar to you because they're a direct quote from the Bitcoin white paper, where Zcash blockchain is the store of value, the hard money. The Avalanche L1s provide fast payment rails for private payments with selective disclosure as needed. And many Avalanche L1s running Zcash's virtual machine bridged directly to the Zcash mother chain. So it's Satoshi's vision realized. And Jack was talking about this during his opening keynote, this idea of side chains that could speed things up. And that is this slide. That's what our goal is. And I'm so excited to hear that from the Zcash community, that this is something that's acceptable or just worth exploring, because I think it's worth exploring. I think even if all the optimizations are done to make the Zcash blockchain itself, the mother chain, faster, it won't be enough for Zcash to be world scalable. So, because there are just far more transactions in the world. So if that's really our goal, we have to do even more parallel scaling, and that's what we can help with. And there are other solutions, and I'm super happy to be one of many solutions here. We're building something that we want to be a constructive member of the community and work with other projects. Another question, how much usage do you estimate or expect? Is the benefit for Zcash limited to transaction fees, or are there additional advantages? Okay, so how much usage do we estimate or expect? It's a little unknown, and that's why phase 2 is there, because we can actually see There's another bridge that Avalabs is running that's semi-distributed, not completely distributed, and not permissionless, but it does require a number of parties to reach consensus on what happens across the bridge. So there's definitely some decentralization. And that's between Bitcoin and Avalanche, and also between Ethereum and Avalanche. And we can see quite a bit of traffic on there. I'll post a link in the chat afterwards to that bridge traffic. So we do know that that traffic is happening. People are interested in bridging that way. And if they have another path, we can assume that some of the traffic will also come over ours, because then bridge users have some redundancy. And the second part of that question is the benefit for Zcash limited to transaction fees, or are there additional? Well, okay, so if you're running a Guardian, then yes, it's like you're almost like a toll booth, or a franchisee, if you will. By holding those RBR tokens, you're allowed to receive revenue, and that's true. I think the advantages to this bridge are for Zcashers are far beyond that, because it opens up Zcash Zodlers to use their Zcash or their ZEC as collateral, and also in DeFi, and it allows everyone else elsewhere to use Zcash, which means new users for Zcash. So yeah, I think there are some huge advantages besides just the bridge tolls. So is there anything you need from Zebra Node that isn't available? Yes, but I'm not going to go into it right now. So we're and we're using Frost as well. We're super excited to use Frost, and everything's hot off the press, right? So we're some of the first adopters, and we expect there to be some rough edges. That's fine, and we've had a really nice time working with. I've met the Frost team and myself. So I know them personally, and great people to work with. And yes, I'm sure we will have some contact with the Zebra team as well. And yes, okay. All right, let me show you so we just released this last week. It's a UI demo of how the phase 1 of the bridge will work. Okay. It shows up, you can use it on desktop or on your phone. I think it looks especially cool on the phone. This is the desktop version. You can bridge in either direction. So I'll start out by bridging from Zcash to Avalanche. I'm going to bridge 10 ZEC, and that'll we'll wind up with 9.99 ZEC.rbr on the other side because of a bridging fee. The fee will be dynamic in the real version. This is just an example just to show you that there will be some deduction right there. And you can see we have a balance here of 1,000 ZEC. So hit continue. At this point, it's a summary of what you're about to do. We do give you a choice to pick an agent, which is the role of an agent is just a bridge guardian who's going to help your transaction pass through. It doesn't actually, the agent doesn't make any decisions. It's just sort of a guide, if you will, through the across the bridge. You can see normally an average user would just say any available agent, but you also get a chance, and I was so happy to have Shielded Labs agree to be listed on this demo, and also ZEC Rocks. So shout out to both of you. Anyway, we'll just bridge with any available agent. This will take 30 minutes. You'll also get a prompt right before this pops up from MetaMask saying, do you really want to do that? And you'll have an opportunity to sign the transaction with MetaMask. And like I say, it takes about 30 minutes. You say this one in the demo, 29 minutes and 19 seconds. We're just waiting for enough confirmations on the Zcash side to provide beyond a reasonable doubt that block is finalized. And then you can bridge again. You can bridge in the other direction. So we'll do that. We'll bridge 10 back. We have a balance of 709.99 because we started out with 700 on the other side and we bridged some back over. So now we'll bridge back. This time we'll choose ZEC Rocks, bridge now. And there it goes. And now it's done. And now you can see our balance here is 999.9900 ZEC. It's because there were some bridging fees. So that's our quick demo. I've taken questions along the way, but if there are any more questions, we have just a few more minutes here and I'd be happy to answer them. Okay, let's see. Can you share more about your ideas for the bridge project and ZSAs? Yes. I think ZSAs are just open up many more use cases for this because you could have a wrapped BTC that comes across and then have that available and have that in private on the Zcash side, and then have that private also when we get to phase 3 on the Avalanche side. So that's really cool, and that's just one example. So there's a lot of software to build here. So we're starting with phase 1. I'm very excited about the basic use cases for phase 1 and really excited for this path. And again, ZSA is brand new. We're working with some why the name Red Bridge? Okay, we started out with the name ZavaX, Zcash, AVAX, ZavaX, yeah. And just talking to people. Our company is named Red Dev, and red's a color on the Avalanche side, and we've been Red Dev forever. So it was like Red Bridge, Red Dev. And the URL, if you want to try this demo, is redbridge-demo.red.dev. And my email is kit@red.dev. Okay, so, and I gave a very similar version of this. I practiced this when I visited the Electric Coin Company team on their retreat in Mexico. And we took this group shot. This is us waving across the bridge to the Avalanche community. Indeed, I think they're waving back with this grant announcement. So thanks everybody. We're about at time. For updates, please follow. I'm at MRKIT, the number 2, letter U, and Red Dev is at REDDEVINC, both on X. And I will also post our GitHub link in the chat on Wahova, or however you say Wahova. So, okay, thanks everybody. It was great. Okay.